Hey, Patrick, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining me. Congrats on
Well,
Young Werther. I loved it. I thought your performance
thanks,
was
man.
great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, your character Albert, the movie starts and you meet him and I was kind of thinking like, oh, is he going to be sort of like another Sack Lodge, Bradley Cooper from Wedding Crashers? But of course, he's not. He's very likable. Even Werther likes him. So I was curious. I'd love to hear from you. Could you talk about achieving that unique dynamic, even with the sort of rift with Charlotte, but still, I mean, really likable guy. So love to hear more from you about.
Yeah, I think typically, like, I wouldn't be drawn. I think, like, most actors would probably not be drawn to somebody who is just like really nice and pretty simple. Like it's a weird thing, and it's a testament to Jose and how great he is at what he does, and his adaptation of this story that he held on to this sort of great detail, which feels, while it's from a classical novel, it also feels novel. It feels very modern in that there can be a character who his likability and his like lack of controversial or negative emotions is what makes him difficult to deal with. Like it makes him the perfect foil. Like if he were Bradley Cooper from Wedding Crashers, if he were angry and manipulative and trying to undo Werther, then Werther would kind of have what he wanted. He'd have this villain that he could play against, but it's his like his absolute simplicity and his joy and his confidence and his love of his wife to be and his desire to want to show up for his family. Like he's just a good guy. And that could have been so boring. And somehow, thanks to Jose, it wasn't. And it left off the page. And I thought I'd never seen that before. There was the risk it would still be boring, but I was like, that's worth the risk to me. I mean, I thought I could certainly play all these things. I definitely relate to them. And then they pulled together such a great team with Allison and Doug, and I actually knew the director of photography as well as a friend of mine. So it just felt like I could step into a very safe environment, and I had no doubt that we'd kind of find something fun to do.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad it all worked out. I love the end result. And I
Thank
was
you.
curious, were you familiar at all with the source material before Young Werther entered the picture
I
for you?
love to pretend I was. I love to pretend. I had never heard of the book. Certainly hadn't read it. And I'd love to say that I have since read it. I have not. I did get it. I started reading it and I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this. I have two kids. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read The Sorrows of Young Werther, but I am fascinated by its how controversial it was at the time, and that it was this, it just sort of took the world by storm and, comes at the end of the Enlightenment, this time of like extreme rationality and, science and, using the mind to control your world, like this very specific time. And then here comes this book about passion and the pitfalls, but the joys of it, the sorrows, but yes, the joys. Like he is such a vibrant, wonderful, contrast to people like Albert, who kind of embody what the rest of that time period has been about. And I love how controversial that was. And I love that it took the world by storm. And I love that Jose was able to adapt that into something now that feels vital and true and honest, by also changing it, by making it not so tragic. The tragedy here being that he doesn't, obviously get the end result that he wants, but it's not necessarily him dead under a tree. So yeah, I don't know. I hadn't known the material, but it was great to learn about it, and maybe one day I'll get the chance to sit down and
Yeah.
actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I only have one kid and I don't have time for anything, so
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Power to you.
Maybe once we make the sequel, I'll read The Sorrows of
Right.
Young Werther.
Old Werther. Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. And I know you're keeping busy with other things. It was also a hoot seeing you reunite with Gabriel at the awards show earlier this year, your
Oh,
co-star,
thank
and
you.
for that TV commercial, which
Yeah.
laughing out loud.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great. It was a gift to be back on set and getting to do our thing again, for
Yeah.
sure.
I read that he's signed on to appear in a few episodes of Suits LA. I was curious if you would ever welcome an opportunity to do a brief stint in a Suits spinoff like the upcoming one or
Yeah,
anything.
I think if it was valuable and it felt like something that made sense and that was helpful to that story, I'm not 100% of the story of Suits LA and those characters and what they're dealing with there, but if it felt like it was organic and something that was fun for everybody to do, then I'm more than open to it. But I'm also happy to it was such a remarkable part of my life, and I'm also more than happy to leave it exactly where it is, and just be grateful for it. So I don't know. I mean, still in touch with Aaron, and we talk all the time. Aaron's the creator of Suits, and a lot of the directors that are going to just do Suits LA. So I feel very much in the family of the show. So if it makes sense and we find some story that's worth telling, then always available. But we're putting no pressure on them by any means.
Course. Well, yeah, I mean, I remember watching the original with my roommate back in the day, even before I know there was the huge Netflix resurgence, but
You were an OG fan.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I'd like to
good.
say that I was. And
Good.
you say that these days, people are like, "Are you sure you weren't just like one of the Netflix people?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. No, no, I was an original.
But and also, sort of going off what you shared on Jesse Tyler Ferguson's podcast, which, I
Hmm.
thought was very sort of, I think a lot of people could relate to what you said. And I thought that was, I commend you for opening up about that. And I
Thank
was
you.
curious, going off that, I mean, would you ever want to commit to another TV series or character for that long, over 100 episodes, or have you learned that that duration is just too much for one thing?
Well, first of all, I don't even know if that exists anymore in the current climate of television, and you can never know what you're committing to. When we signed up for any television show, I'm shooting something now, you sign up for multiple years. So you're in it
Right.
for the long haul. And I have no problem being in it for the long haul. The things that I talked about on Jesse's podcast and the struggle of Suits had as much to do with just my age and lack of experience and how to condition myself to do that for as long as I needed to do it. And, feeling very far and separate from, you know, Troyan, who's now my wife, but at the time was, my girlfriend. And we didn't, there was so much going on contextually that I wasn't prepared for, and that no one tells you, when you get a show at 27 years old, no one in Hollywood goes like, here, sit down, let me tell you how this is going to be for the next 5 years, because it could be quite complicated, and here's how best to prepare yourself. No one gives you that book. You just show up and work like crazy, and then kind of get spit out at the end of every season and go, what just happened? And so, I'm older now. I've learned more about how to take care of myself, how to pace myself, how to be prepared, what things, how to be really clear about what I want to do with a part and what I want to do with my day's work. So yeah, there's a ton of it's a totally different thing now than it was before. I have more information. So yeah, totally open to it. I mean, I certainly have things that I'm more interested in doing, more, certain characters, or working with certain people. Like I now know enough to know what matters to me and what I am interested in doing and what I'm not interested in doing. But the idea of just being on a show for a long time, it's an amazing thing. You
Yeah.
get to be, you know, the difference between film and television is you're on a film and you become like this, you become a quick little family for a little bit of time. But then you say goodbye, and it's like, oh, that was 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If it's a long movie, maybe more, but then it's over. With a show that goes on for as long as Suits or even a few seasons, like you're a part of each other's lives. People are getting married, babies are being born, people are dying. Like it is a profound gift to have a community like that for that long.
Yeah.
And it comes with all the joys and pitfalls of, being part of a big family. So I welcome it. I enter into it knowing a lot more than I did before.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's well said. And I'm by no means a Hollywood actor, but a lot of what you just said and your journey and what you've shared, I think, I can relate to parts of it or, so
Well,
I
good. That means a
appreciate
lot.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people do too.
Great. Thank you.
Uh, and also I want to, speaking of series, and I'm a huge Mae Martin fan, and I know you're starring in
Oh
that
yeah.
series Wayward, and I can't wait for it to come out. I was curious if there's anything you can share about it, like what we could expect, if there's any sort of
I I
release
have
date.
not yet even been told what I'm allowed to say or not say,
Okay.
so I'd be very careful, but I will say May's a genius.
Yeah.
My time on that set, while pretty short, was wonderful. I think it's an incredible group of people, and it's a really crazy story. And I think people are gonna love it. I was so grateful to ask to be come along for even a little part of the ride. So yeah, as soon as I can say more, I'll say more. But there's also going to be better people to talk about it because I was there for a few days essentially.
Of course. Yeah. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I just,
No, no, I
a
know.
lot of folks are excited, and
Good. That's
my
glad.
wife
They
and I
should
are.
be. I think that excitement is warranted.
Yeah. Good. Well, great. And in the meantime, congratulations again on Young Werther. It was wonderful, and hope we can do this again soon.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. Have a good day.